Hi, welcome to Give Your Walls Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom. Thanks for coming back. Today what we're going to do is paint this huge red hat. I bought this hat several years ago just because I liked the way it looked and I wanted to do several paintings of it. Never worn it, but I've done lots of paintings and it's been a lot of fun. Do want to talk a little bit about the painting that we did last time. It was supposed to be a cool painting done in cool tones. And this was a challenge. Bob Duffy called me up and challenged me to paint a cool painting, and you know what? He won, because that puppy is warm, it's hot, it is not a cold painting. I have one in the studio that I'm working on, same subject matter, and I'm trying to do it cold, but boy, it's been a struggle. So he definitely won that challenge, and I'm going to give it another shot and see what I can do. I've got some great emails since the last show, and I think the biggest thing that I've heard from people is they'd really like to see how am I mixing the colors, how am I getting the colors. So today I'm going to pre-mix a lot of my paint before I ever hit the canvas so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and then hopefully you can paint along with me. This is just a single hat, simple subject, lots of space, so I'd like to see you get your paints out and give it a shot. Now, why do we call this Give Your Wall Some Soul? That's because this process is more than just how much paint we're putting out on the canvas, how much white we're squeezing out. It's about the internal workings of what goes through your head when you're painting. Right now, I did come up with a palette list, so I'd like to talk about the paint that we're using this time. We've got titanium white. I use a soft mixture of white because it's easier to spread. I've also got quinacridone violet. And you know, the order that you see it on the page is pretty much the order that it is on my palette. There's Pearland Scarlet, which I've replaced. I used to use alizarin, but that's a bad paint, so we've replaced that. Cad Red Light, Cad Yellow Deep, Permanent Green, Ultramarine Blue, and Carbazole Violet. This is actually my typical palette that I use for everything. I will add a few pigments you'll notice from show to show, but for the most part, this is my standard base group of paint that I use. I particularly use one brand, but we don't talk about brands here on TV. But it is important to get, if you're used to one, it's good to use the same one because the pigments will vary from brand to brand. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to start out with this hat, and if you look at the reference photo, I picked a square canvas to have, make sure that the composition really fit with the circular motion of the hat. And normally I would just dive right in and start applying paint, and that's where I was headed. But I promised that I would mix paint for you in the beginning, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start with the shadow. Shadows are always a lot lighter. We've talked about this before. A lot lighter than we think they are. And if you look at the value of this shadow in the reference photo, it's actually not a dark color. So I'm going to start with a bunch of white. There's a pretty good amount. This is a technical for a big blob of white. So we're starting with a big blob of white. I'm going to wipe my, use a lot of tissue to wipe your knife so that you keep the colors clean. And the shadow is a cooler area. I see a lot of blue in that shadow. Now, I've had people say to me, well, how do you see these colors? Why are we looking at the same thing, and how come I can see these and they can't? Well, the more you look at something, the more you will start to see. Okay, that's a nice, nice blue, gorgeous color. A lot cooler than what I normally mix. A lot cooler. But it's also too bright for that shadow. It might be dark enough, but I think it's way too bright. So now that I've mixed this paint together, I'm going to go ahead and add its complement, which would be the orange, which is really a Cad Yellow Deep. And we'll add that, and that will gray it down. But it'll also make it kind of green. I don't want to do that. Now what a nice neutral gray we're getting. I hope you can see that. That's a real pretty gray. I was going to add some cad red light to that because I usually need a little bit of red to, I always put a little red in everything. That's a nice gray. I might stop there. So there are times when you have an idea of where you're going, but if you get there first before you can, I've got an idea of what I want to paint and the color that I want to mix, but I liked what happened better than what I was thinking, so I'm probably going to stop. But since I'm pre-mixing, the nice thing is that I will be able to tell by looking at the palette if all these colors are going to be harmonious. So I'm going to move this little pile over, or big pile over, and start mixing some of the reds for the hat. Now you know this is a show that's taped live to tape. That means there's no editing. Everything we do is done in an hour time. It took me about an hour to prep the canvas. That means draw it and determine the composition. So I'm probably not going to paint the background today just because I don't think we'll have time. If we do, that's great, but I'm really going to focus on the hat. Okay, so I'm going to start with the darkest dark mixture on the hat, and that would be this nice quinacridone violet. And I'm going to add some, I think that's just a little too purpley. New word I made up. So I'm adding more purple to it. Does that make sense? No. It's going to make it darker. Now typically people would put the complement color, which would be a little bit of this green in there to make a nice dark, rich dark color. I don't really like the color that it turns when you add green. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue and leave it and see how I like that. That's a nice rich wine cranberry color. Very cool. It's a cool dark red. Okay, so I'll move that over. When you're doing a lot of mixing, you pretty much have to have tissue or a rag in your hand at all time, and it's just not pretty, but that's just how you got to get this done. So the next thing I'm going to do is make a medium red tone. I'm going to add some of this Perylene Scarlet, maybe take a little bit of this mixture. Oh, that's nice. It's a lot warmer. That's closer to a Shannon red. I like that. None of this is enough paint for where I want to go, but I want to see if they're harmonious first before I commit to making huge piles. Okay, so that's nice. We've got two nice cool dark and a warm dark, and I'm going to need a mid-range. So I'll need a pile of, take this whole thing over, add a little bit of, this is going to make it a nice candy apple red. Oh, that's happy. Can you see this? This is happy. It's a happy red. There are sad reds. I don't like to use them though. Okay, so that's nice. We need to make a lighter red, which should be a little cad red, almost straight cad red light, with a little bit of cad yellow deep to warm that up. Now there's not a lot of value change here. There's a big change between, and what I mean by value is dark to light. There is a big change in temperature, that these two mixtures are cooler, they get progressively warmer. But if you look to see of how light or dark something is, if we were able to, if you could take your TV and turn it on black and white for just a minute and just flick it. And can we still do that in this day and age, flick it on black and white? If you can, try it. Because in the olden days, you could do that, and you'd be able to see that these are just about as dark as these piles. So there's not a huge range in value, but the temperature is really going to beef it up. So if you add white, and I'll do that just so you can see, to a little bit of red. I'll have to do some up here so you can see. It just gets pink and it's washed out and it has no punch. So I'm really going to stay away from, can you see that? Nice little peachy color. That is not going to do it for our hat. So I'll move that to the side. I'm going to run out of palette room here. Okay, now the one disadvantage to doing the pre-mixing is that you do run out of space unless you have this huge palette spread all over the place. So I may start putting some paint down just to get some room. When I'm looking at, I looked at the shadow, and that's going to need a darker, there's a light shadow area and a dark shadow area. So I'm going to add some blue to this shadow. Need to keep my knife clean so that I don't contaminate my pigment up here. And is this, you can barely see this. Here, let me move this up. Okay, that's a nice darker color shadow. Now shadows at the very edges typically are darker. If you look at any shadow, the very edge is darker, and there's a lot of light that bounces off in the middle. And even if you don't see it, paint it that way. Fake it till you make it, and you will notice, it'll make your painting look a lot better. The other reason that I typically, a lot of painters will pre-mix everything they do. The reason that I don't pre-mix everything I do is I just don't have that kind of patience. I want to get in there and paint right away. But if you're very organized and you get all these mixes done, you can't help but have a bad can't help but have a bad painting. You can't help but have a good painting because you've got all your mixes down and you already know that it's going to look good on the palette. It's going to translate as long as you put it in the right spots on the canvas. Okay, I've waited as long as I can, but I hope that you got to see how I got these initial mixes. This is going to form the base for the painting, and we'll add to it from there. So now as far as the brush that I'm selecting, I'm going to start with some big, I have some medium. I'm going to start with the shadow shape, and I'll do just the edges first. I'm using a lot of medium, and I'm going to scrub this in. Again, this drawing area, oh, that's a nice blue. Again, it was about an hour. It was about an hour to get the drawing in, and then it was probably a little more than that to get the composition figured out. I'm doing a rough outline of the shadow. I just want to see where I'm going here. I know it's hard to see when it's a painting this big. Okay, that was some shadow. That was some shadow too. And I think that was shadow. Hopefully it was. If not, you have to paint over it. Yeah, I like that color. Okay, that's a good outer shadow color. I painted this hat a couple years ago, did several paintings of the hat, and I thought I was done with the subject matter, but it's kind of like, you're ever talking to somebody about something and you thought you had said all you had to say, and then you remember all these things later? That's kind of how it is with this painting. I have more to say, so I'm going back to it. This has a lot of texture because I stretched the canvas myself. I used gesso, and I did not sand it because I wanted to keep the texture. I had the hat sitting on concrete, so that'll kind of pick up that concrete texture. This is, as a cowgirl pointed out, definitely not really a cowgirl's hat, but it's a Western hat, and I really liked it. The lady I bought it from was just surprised that I wasn't going to wear it. And I said, no, it's just a little too much for me, but I really did want to do some paintings of it. So I've had several models wear it. Some of the crew people here have worn it. Looks pretty good on them. Okay. That's just like this brush is too little for that space. So this is almost a day for house painting brushes. I've been doing such little paintings that, 24 by 30, that I forget that I need big brushes when I come here. Oh, that's better. See, now there's some variation in this shadow. I'm just going to scribble that in. See, that's just much more effective to use a bigger brush. These are things that I know, and I still can do the wrong thing even though you know something. Yeah, that's good. I will squiggle some paint over there. We need more medium to really help this flow. See, if you look at that reference photo, and you can see that light bouncing off in the middle of that shadow. It's not all dark. And you can, if you look at it close, you can see that there's some violet, there's some blue. Okay, even if you're not going to go out and paint, try going outside and just spacing out at the concrete. Just take a look at the concrete, look at the stuff that's in the shadow, look at the stuff that's in sunlight. And they're going, yeah, Shannon, right. No, have you ever gone outside on a break and just stand around and looking at stuff and say, wow, look at the shadows. You have some fun. You'd be surprised. And then email me. Let me know what you see. Oh, you can't tell me you've never looked at things in the in the bathroom wall. Come on, you've seen stuff in plaster. I'm sure you guys have seen faces. Yeah, that's really happy. Okay. See, I'm not carefully painting around where the little leather strings are. I'm just kind of roughing it in there. First of all, I don't want to be that careful, because it hurts my soul to do that. And secondly, I don't want the painting to look like that. It'll pick up that energy. That's nice because it's a subtle transition and it's not real obvious. I actually can be subtle sometimes. Till the red starts coming in. I think that's where that shadow went. I lose my place. Still happens. It's kind of like that when I'm playing the piano, and I'm just playing away, and then all of a sudden I start thinking about where I am, and I go back to the music because I'm pretty much in my head, and it's just my fingers are going, and I'm just having a great time, and it's like, oh my God! I look at the music, I get lost, and then I just fumble because I was kind of having an out-of-body thing while I was doing that. Well, the same thing happens when I'm painting. It's like, I just don't pay attention, and I'm not present, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's not. It's okay when you're in the studio by yourself, but when you're trying to show somebody something, you got to kind of be there. Okay, that's a good happy shadow. What's a sad shadow? Sad shadows or when people just assume that everything outside is black. If you go outside on a cloudy day, the whole world isn't black outside. It's just grayer than it normally is. So that's a good way to think about painting shadows. Okay, that's looking good. All right, I'm going to go with the darkest dark, and I'm going to use this brush and just wipe it off because I like it. And I don't have another one that's going to draw as well as this does. Okay. I'm using, the hat band looks black. And, okay, I didn't mix this. I just stuck my brush right in the paint. So that didn't tell you anything, did it? I put it right straight in the dioxazine purple and in the ultramarine blue to get a nice dark hat band where it appears to be black. So let's see. And that's just to help me draw, kind of see where I'm at. It might even be too purple, and I'll worry about that later. Let's see, where else does that hat band go? It's kind of whiter here. We've got some reflection coming there. I'm breaking up the line. We've got rhythm again. Always rhythm is really important. Okay, that's good enough for that. Let's try the dark side. Dark side of the little rawhide things. I don't know what the technical term for this thing is, so it's the little rawhide things. I'm sure somebody will email and let me know. Okay, how did that go? Kind of went like that. You know, there's a lot of, once you get this initial thing in, there's a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done. But I just want to get the initial placement in. So the left side, the bottom side is where the light's not hitting it. Let's see. That kind of comes up here. You don't even know what's going on there. It's hard to see. And they all converge. Yeah, works for me. Okay. Now the next big area to do would be the dark side of the hat, the shadow area of the hat. And because this has a little bit of white on there, I don't think I want to use this brush. Here's another big one. I need to go out and buy some more big brushes. I threw a lot of brushes away. They just got too scruffy. Okay, let's try this and see if it's going to work. Might be just a little too cranberry. Oh, it is. Yeah. Not going to use that. Just too cold for me. All right, so we're getting out. That was the quinacridone violet. I'm getting out some more Parylene scarlet. You need a lot. And you know what? This is there. This is good stuff. It's very transparent, so you need a lot. I'm going to mix that with what I had here because I don't really want to waste it if I can help it. That's warmer. That's better. I might mix these two together. Yeah, I like that better. Let's see. Oh yeah, nice brick red. I can always add some warmth into that. It was too cold. And this is a lot more harmonious here. Okay, let's put some more down. Yeah, that's better. Scrubbing that in. Yeah, okay, that color's going to work. I'll get some more medium out and just put in the whole dark area. I'm starting, the whole painting I'm approaching dark to light this time. You know I'm usually all over the place. I'm trying to be organized today. I hope that you've tried to get a big canvas to see what, just to see the difference in how it feels. You can see that this is shaking all over the place. Just stuck my hand right in the paint. This is shaking all over the place. And you could secure it down, but I actually like the interaction. It's alive. I'm staying away from the edges, and actually I do need to address this little bit of paint that's here because I'll get it in my other spots that I don't want it. Oh well, it's good enough. I wasn't sure what I was going to paint this time, and saw the hat sitting there, and I thought, God, wouldn't that be great on a big canvas? And if you look at my sense of scale, what's natural to me, this is really more comfortable. So this kind of gives you an idea. The hat is this big. I see it this big, and that's what's more. That's how I see it. That's how it feels comfortable. You may like to paint something on a tiny 5x7, and that might feel comfortable for you. Start off in your comfort zone and then try to push it. I'm the biggest chicken, but I will push it and walk through the fair. Okay, that's nice. What's really cool is that you can start to see this thing take shape even in this really raw state. You can see the hat against the shadow, and I like it at this stage when it's already emerging. That's a good thing. Okay, now my temptation for the other shadow part is to use exactly the same color, and while it's not, the light's hitting it differently down here. I can get away with maybe a little bit of this. Michael used to say, if you can fake it and make me believe it, that's great. But Michael was the teacher that had the most influence on me. And I can put a little bit here, but I'm not seeing that color spot the rest of the hat, or the rest of that shadow. Let's see, maybe I can take some here and there, but the rest of that has to be a little lighter. So I'm going to add, oh, that's nice. I added that warmer red mixture to that. It's just slightly different, so you really wouldn't notice. That's not going to do any good. You got to notice some difference. So I'm going to move this pile aside, take some of that. Okay, that is luscious. Now that's red. You guys probably are too young to remember Sammy Hagar, but God, I heard that song the other day, and that helped inspire this painting too. He was the red rocker. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Now, I do put things down and say, ooh, that's not nice, but thank God today it's working. Okay, and you know what? In the middle of this hat, just like in the middle of the shadow, there is light. In the middle of all the darkness, there is light. Sometimes you don't see it, but if you know to look for it, it's easier to find. Okay. It's definitely interactive. hope you can even tell that it's starting to look like a hat. No, just two blobs of red paint. Well, we're getting there, guys. Okay, let's see. There's another dark spot. I need to address the top of this hat. I'm going to go back up to this, and it won't be quite the same color. I'm actually going to have to pull my reference photo out so I can see where I'm going. And it's good to go, it is good to go with the flow of the form and the shadow. It gives that zen feeling. Yeah, that's a nice. I don't know if I ever told you about my great aunt Margaret. She's 94. She started painting when she was 90, and she's done some incredible pieces. She's also a fantastic, just an excellent cook. And she's Italian. And I went over there this weekend, and we made cucciadatis. And we spent, the strength that she has to have to roll this out at 94 is just amazing. And so I had a little remedial workshop because I wasn't doing it right. So she showed me how to do it. And the inspiring thing about her is she's still learning new things. She's still trying new things. And I had a blast making these cookies with her. And I want to be the same way with my painting, that I'm still learning a new way to do it, still experimenting, not just doing the same old thing. She's always adding new things to her cookies. A little bit of whiskey here, some cranberries, whatever she's got in the house. And so that I hope that I continue to do that with my painting. Of course, if I start throwing whiskey on my paintings, then somebody's got to come get me. Well, I had to try it just to see. But the point is, she keeps educating herself and growing, and I want to do that too. All the same, she retains her individuality, and it's not like she's experimenting or having a new style or a new way to do it. It's still my Aunt Margaret's way of doing something, but she keeps improving. I meet with a painter once a month, and we critique each other's work, and it's really helpful. Because there are people who will tell you they don't like your work, but they're not nice about it. they just tell you they don't like it. Or there are people that tell you they love it, and that's always wonderful. But it's nice to get constructive opinions for ways that you could improve your work. Okay, we're getting some form here. Let's see what's happening with this hat. All right, this has to be lighter or it's not going to make sense. But not too late. There's that light, but not too light. I'm going to move on over to the bright red because I want to see how that's going to work. I could probably use a bigger brush, but I didn't bring it with me, so I'm going to just go with a small brush. This is a number 16, and this is pretty tiny for me. You know what? I never hold these up fast enough for anybody to see. But I'm getting better. Oh, that's a nice bright red. That'll give us some contrast. Gotta have contrast, make a painting interesting. Just like radio station, they don't play all fast songs, one right after another. They've got to break it up. Got to do that with your work. Even within an individual piece of music, got to have some variety. One way to give your painting some soul The biggest way to give your painting some soul is to paint something you really love. And I love this hat. I'm thinking soon, it's getting close to time where I'm going to have to paint that sock monkey. I love that sock monkey. I've probably done 10, 12 paintings of the sock monkey, and it's time to start another series. That's a little lighter. That needs to be darker. So I'm talking to myself the whole time here. Should be talking to you, but that area was a little bit lighter, and so I just checked to see, is it a little bit lighter, is it a little bit brighter, what do I need to do? This is light. That's going to be light. I think I'm also going to do a huge, maybe 60 by 48, 48 by 60, cowboy boot. In order to do a pair of boots, I'd have to have a mural size canvas. Okay. I'm liking that, where that's going. I think I need to add some, break it up, but there's not enough variation here. Maybe do some blending. I like to blend. A little bit lighter, just a little bit here in this middle. You can barely tell, and it might not be enough. If it's not enough, I'll put some red over the side. Okay, I'm going to stand back and look at it. Okay, we're starting to get that indentation in the top of the hat. That's good. That's starting to get some form. I'm going to go ahead and put the dark side of the hat, this plane here. Yeah, that's good. Okay, right at the edge, that needs to be dark. For those of you that are really tired of red, because I just do a lot of it, I'll try something that's a little more full range next time. Yeah, I was looking around at all the stuff in the studio, and I'd done so much work that didn't require red that I thought my studio was looking kind of puny, and I did several red paintings, and it was all better. Okay, so you notice the stroke went up like this, and I need to change that so it's not real obvious there that I'm doing that. Just going to squiggle that. And add some interest there. Okay, leave that. I'm going to need a bright red there. This will be straight. Oof, I love this stuff straight. Perylene Scarlet. One of my favorite colors. Do I want a clean brush? Nah, we'll just use a dirty one. Lots of medium. What did I have down here? We'll just play with this and see if this works. It might be a little too dark. Yeah, I see like a triangular shape here. I'm gonna put that in. Mix it with some cad red light. I hope you're seeing these shapes. If you could break things down into basic shapes that you can understand, you can paint anything. I just saw a triangular shape, so I put that down. And you keep putting it together, and pretty soon you got it all down. This needs to be light, almost orangey. That's where the light's hitting it. Yeah, it could actually even use some white, but I'm not touching that yet. I'm not going to get into the white yet. Like that. Okay. A little lighter here. All right, what's going on here? That's lighter. Oops. Well, it should have been, but my brush was too dirty. So I'm going to just go over it with a little bit of orange. Cad yellow deep. And is that light? It kind of is. How technical is that? Now I'm really stepping back going, okay, yeah, that's starting to work. Oh, that was nice. I put the Perylene Scarlet right over the top of that, and that compensated, and that made it a lot closer to where I really wanted to go. Okay. These ellipses get funny. I tend to have trouble with that. I don't know any painter who doesn't have trouble with that. That's just a matter of practice and working at it till you get it right. Okay, I'm looking back at it. It's starting to get the texture of the felt too, which is nice. That's always helpful. I really want people to be able to feel, get a sense for there are two types of texture. You have the illusion of texture, which is what I create, and you have the actual tactile texture where people put globs of paint down. I'm not too much of a globber unless I'm painting wet on wet, and but for the most part I'm not. So my texture is all an illusion. Either way you can get it. Okay, this needs to be lighter but not too light. Now you can see what I'm getting done in about an hour show. There was a time when there was no way I could get this much done in an hour. It's just a matter of practice. I gotta go right over that. This is a lighter thing here. And when it gets closer to being a finished piece, I have to keep getting back and looking to see where I'm at. Because this piece is so large, unless I get back from my work, I have no idea where I'm at. So by standing back and taking a look, I have usually a mirror behind me. I can see where I am and where I need to go. This is kind of curled up because the poor hat's been on my wall. I probably need to get a little hat form for it or something. Okay, I'm avoiding that little space there where the hat band does all that stuff, and I will fill in this here. This pretty much cad red light, but not quite as light. Yep, that's starting to work. That's a good thing because we we don't have tons of time left in the show. Okay, I do need to address this other area here, so I'm going to put the light in around the stuff that's going on with the hat band. Now, you can tell that if you look at the actual hat, you can see the reflection of the silver. But there's silver on the band, and it just reflects light like crazy. But it's not looking silver when you look at it. It's pretty much just white. Just a white with a little bit of yellow blob. So I'm going to over-accentuate that. I'm going to take some white, if I can find any clean white left here. Add a little bit of cad yellow deep. And I'm going to overstate this white because otherwise when I go into it, I'll cover it up. I'm finding a brush. This is a smaller area, so I'm looking for a brush that has a little more control. Again, going into the medium. And just some bold strokes. I'm going to put some here. There's a blob there. And a little blob there. Real technical, huh? Okay, and then we could also use this lighter color. It's kind of got grayed down. I don't like that. And I didn't bring any yellow to brighten it up, but that's okay. I'm going to use this on the rawhide. This is a good way to block it in. I'm not doing a continuous stroke because I don't want it to be boring. Okay, and then there's some more right here. And I'm running out of medium. I need to get some more of that put out. Not a clean place on the palette. A good day's work. Not a clean place on the floor either. Okay. It's starting to make some sense. Paintings have to make sense, one way or another. Okay, I think there was some, like a little blob of something here, which is some reflection, and a little reflection here. It's okay that it gets grayed down because it's in a cooler area. And I need to address this part of the hat band. I'm going to make that a little... Now, how did I get that mix? I basically took the purple, dioxazine purple, same thing as carbazole violet, different name, but it's the same pigment, and mixed it with the ultramarine blue, grabbed a little bit of red. That was to gray it down, not just because I like the red. And let's see. Let's see if that's working. That's looking like a hat band, even though it's amazing. You just throw a little paint up there, and it starts to turn into something. It's magic. I may have to fix this shape here, but I'm not going to judge it yet. I just want to fill in this part here. Okay, so this band gets very narrow here. It's whiter here. All going back to those squirrely ellipses. I wish I had paid more attention in geometry when I was a teenager and I was into other things. But you really do use it later. Okay. Again, I need to get back from it. Is it starting to make sense? Yes, it is starting to look like something's happening with the hat. I could address some of the background, but instead, I think I'll just clean it up. I'm going to put some of this red in. And realistically, how many times would I'd go over this several times. This area here is one of the things that will really make this painting pop. So I would really go over this several times until I got all of these areas that were just really clean. So I will try that with I'm not going to bore you with that hair, but I'm going to tidy it up a little bit. The other thing that I'm doing is if you can hear me scrubbing, I'm getting rid of these pencil lines so that when this dries, I'm not stuck with this stuff. And it's harder to take care of later. Now, how would I clean that up? That's actually by putting in some of the background. Let's see what the shadow does over here. You know, even in my own studio, that's what you got to do to reach some of these places. Just get down low and see where is it going. I like this shadow shape. It was very interesting to me. Now, did I screw that up as far as where it actually goes? Yeah, kind of. Okay. Okay, that's dark, that's dark. Okay, now I don't know if I can get back up. That's hard. Okay. I just put a little bit of blue right at the very edge. That adds some interest. And I could put down at the bottom here, just little touches of green. That too will add interest. But I'm going to wait and do that till it dries. So instead, we've got a few minutes left. This is going to be the fastest background you ever saw. First of all, I have no room left on the palette. So I will rip this off. Sorry, hat. You gotta move. Okay. Now, there were two reasons for possibly not doing the background. One is I didn't know if I could do it in an hour show. And two, you try putting one of these puppies in your van and taking it home soaking wet in one piece. And all my clothes that I have paint on them, and my car definitely has paint all over it. So that was definitely a consideration. And actually, They're telling me I don't have as much time as I think. So I'm going to tidy up the hat. That's one thing about painting. I totally lose perspective. I have no idea how much time has passed. That's good. That needs to be darker there. Now, what would I do to finish the painting? Definitely, I would let it dry. And this little thing's bugging me right here. I'd let it dry. I would put in the background. It's not going to be, it'll be white with maybe just touches of yellow in it. Very, very neutral background, because for me, the whole thing was about the hat and the shadow. And I would continue, I would pretty much do the same thing I did in the first statement, and by the first statement, I mean the first time at the canvas, only I did the big shapes this first time around. When I go back in it, I will see more color in other places. There's a lot more light in here. There's some light bouncing off in here. There's actually a little bit of blue right here. I'll put some green down there. I will look at all the color that, you know, this is basically an outline, a broad idea of what's there. And when I go back in it again, I'll put in the details. Like there's some light bouncing here that I might even be able to do this now. Sometimes it's better when it's dry, though. Yeah, nothing's happening here. So, thanks again for watching Give Your Wall Some Soul. I hope you got some good ideas on making coochies. And try a huge hat painting. It's something that you can do in an hour, and it's not too detailed. Thanks again for watching.